Curran with the quick and dirty training camp update. Phil Perry is sidling up as we speak. The senator will join us to speak about the fracas-filled practice again today. He was doing some due diligence, talking to sources, folks, ancillary members of the Mac Jones camp. I don't know what the hell he was doing, but he was on it. But we had another really interesting day at camp. I can't hear so good. All right, we're gonna project a little bit more. But Phil, another fracas today. Patriots players not happy. The genesis of it was Christian Wilkerson, who was involved yesterday in a scrap, was covering a kickoff.
Yep.
And it was as Matt Rule explained, the sixth of six reps. And in going down, he was either hit or fell with Kenny Robinson, the Panther, on the scene. Robinson then standing over Wilkerson. In trying to piece together what happened, it appeared that Wilkerson, just from saying what folks are saying and what he registered, it appeared he might have shown some concussion-like symptoms.
He was motionless on the ground for several moments. And so that's really what bothered Matthew Slater and others, Tom. He was down on the ground, essentially face down. And they felt as though Kenny Robinson was celebrating whatever had led to that moment. And that's what they really took issue with.
And Matt Rule felt the same way. Panthers coach is going to scrutinize exactly how he wants to proceed with Kenny Robinson. During his press conference, I wouldn't say that he was embarrassed by what happened, but he wasn't freaking happy, especially when you got a guy standing over a prone player who might be registering fencing responses or whatever else. It looks bad. And that really led to another situation where Dietrich Wise rammed into Devin, get in here. If you're going to behave like that, we get Devin McCourty.
About to have another fight over here. The instigating over there.
That's a bad matchup for you guys.
It's a bad
I don't know.
matchup.
We could,
I'm like a mongoose.
I got help right here, too.
Oh, that's true.
I'm like a mongoose. So Devin McCourty just hit me in the side of the head with a Sharpie. I actually thought it was this kid. He was right here. He was 4'4". He was going down. Back to live action. Dietrich Wise on an 11-on-11 drill. Hit at the sideline and near the sideline. Christian McCaffrey bouncing him out of bounds, and that was immediately responded to by 2 or 3 Panthers. That spilled into, believe it or not, the first row of the stands where somebody's helmet hit the foot of a lady who was sitting there. Patriots then buttoned that up, but it was another massive scrum and a massive time suck. And
that felt like, based on what we could gather, that one did feel like Dietrich Wise did a little too much. It's a thud period. They've been doing that, today and yesterday. But Christian McCaffrey had been thudded at least once, maybe twice, before Dietrich made his way over there and then wiped him out. And especially when you're right on the Panthers sideline, which they were, there's going to be an explosion, which there was. And you had multiple guys tossed out again, including Wise.
Wise went. Jabril Peppers was we got a lot of meat on the bone, but he's going to be worth talking about in the next couple of days because he is an attitude bringer, a fast player, and he is physical as hell. Safety, of course, the Patriots picked up as a free. No, they traded for him from Cleveland?
No, he was signed.
Free agent.
Yeah, free agent.
But all that said, we got sound. Catch it on Early Edition. Make sure you catch up with on the Patriots Talk podcast. We'll have plenty of sound from Slater and McCourty, who are both outstanding on the fracas and what the Patriots can learn for it. Let's talk some football, shall we? Mac Jones spoke to us today. What did you glean first from Mac and then from practice?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. It does feel as though he feels like they are making progress. So I think that's number one. I also it caught my ear, Tom, when he said something about, in the course of answering another question, how important the relationship between play caller and quarterback can be. And so I followed up and I said, how has it been going with Matt Patricia? It seems like it's going well. And his body language would tell us as much. Also, we've seen him giving Matt Patricia hugs, going over to him, laughing about plays that go either good or bad in practices past. I followed up, is that the plan? Is Matt Patricia going to be the guy come the regular season? He said, yeah, we'll see, essentially. So not a whole lot more there on that front, but I do find that, as everybody does, I think, at this point, I shouldn't say everybody, as a lot of people do. I find that interesting.
Mac Jones, as an aside, very comfortable with the media this year. I think he's been a little bit more, look, it's hard to be too revealing, but he's as upfront as he could possibly be. What I found interesting about Mac Jones' explanation when I asked him what has improved from last week when it was so bad right after a practice and he addressed us, he really kind of focused in on protection. If you really glean through everything he talked about, I need the ability to step up. Did not have that. That's why we saw so many aborted plays. That's why we didn't see balls downfield. So really, I think that if you strip it all away, and what did Mac Jones feel was better this week than last week? Protection.
The offensive line. And talking to people in the building here behind the scenes, they know the offensive line has been the issue. And so I thought it was, in general, better during these two practices than it was during the practice you're talking about from last week. Although today I thought was more of an up and down day from the Patriots offense than yesterday. Yesterday I thought they were clearly better than they had been. I won't say today was a step back, but it was a little bit more of a roller coaster. In the early 11-on-11 periods, Mac Jones hit 2 highlight reel throws and catches to Nelson Aguilar in the back of the end zone. One was a one-handed grab. One was in the middle of 2 Panthers defenders. Really impressive from both. But then, Tom, in the 7-on-7, it was a little bit of a mess. And then I would say in the 11-on-11 hurry up at the end of practice, again, really hard for them to generate yards. They did score a touchdown at the end of that period, which I'm sure people have seen tweets about, but they had to be gifted about 25 or 30 yards up the field with 8 seconds left on the clock to make it a more representative kind of drill and kind of period. I think they looked at it and they said, I don't think we're driving 50 yards and scoring with 8 seconds left, so let's give them 30 and let's see if they can score from there. So it wasn't all good today.
And the shift today with individual drills, especially pass game, was interesting to see. I spent more time watching the offense today because they were right in front of us. They were doing end zone and deep red zone passing, much less space for the players to work, much more difficult for them to uncover. Still, there were some good routes, some good catches. The best one by Ty Montgomery in a tight window, tipped it to himself. So Keegan has a good camp. Aguilar showed up today. Defensively, Dietrich Wise showed up with the late hit on Christian McCaffrey. Anything else?
I'm going to have some details for people the last 2 days of Patriots offensive line, again, because it's been an issue, versus Panthers pass rushers in one-on-one drills. So we're going to have all the numbers, all the wins, losses, draws, especially for the big-name Patriots. And I think the numbers are going to end up looking pretty good. I came away from today's one-on-one session especially saying Patriots offensive line looked dominant at times. And Cole Strange, to me, I think had 2 consecutive really good days in one-on-one. So he continues his slow, but I think relatively steady upward trajectory as he gets used to the NFL.
All right. Well, that's a wrap. We'll see you on Early Edition with Training. Training was down here today, getting all the intel that she could. We appreciate that so much because it's great. You can get down here and instead of having us, blah, 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 you see it for yourself. So good stuff. We're going to have her tonight, Phil's Next Pats podcast. Of course, we'll have the Patriots Talk podcast tomorrow. Friday game, we'll be in studio breaking it all down. But and that's it for camp. I want to thank Annie Hall, Casey Keene, Jason Levine. Our guy Kendall was here. Rashad was here. So all the people in our digital, right?
Yep.
Annie's behind them. All the people in digital, just departments, OC, digital, linear, great job by them. Appreciate it.
Hey, I don't know. Hey, what even is this?